Chapter 1 of The Miserable Life of Bernie LeBaron, Ogre in the Bushes. I didn't even know they were there until the rock busted me upside the head. I shouldn't have been surprised, though. Trouble had been following me all around like an ominous shadow since the day I was born. It was one of those bright days in late August when the world was taking a deep breath before the fall chill began the steady creep towards winter. The dog days of August were supposed to have passed, but someone must have let one of those dogs loose because it was so hot and humid that everything just wilted. I pedaled my bike through the boiling hot air with my newspaper bag swinging from the handlebars. I wished I could just flop down in the shade of a big maple tree and act like I didn't have a care in the world, but that would have been a lie. No scrawny kid living on the charity of others and with a bad luck streak as wide as the ocean could live without trouble. This day was no different. The sweltering August afternoon must have been a trial for the rich kids in town, too, because they started roaming in packs, like they sometimes did. When they joined in packs, it was best just to get out of the way. I tried, but I still had to get my newspapers delivered on time. So when they pedaled around town searching for victims, I played cat and mouse as best as I could. But this time, I didn't see them. And that's when the rock busted me upside the head. The next thing I knew, I was spread eagle on the burning asphalt, blinking at the bloody sweat in my eyes. I didn't have time to figure out what had happened because they came hooting and hollering like a pack of hyenas. I wasn't going to lie there so that a gang of rich kids could feed me a few knuckle sandwiches. I did the only sensible thing. I jumped back on my bike and pedaled like mad. I've never heard a pack of hyenas when they're chasing down some unlucky gazelle, but if it sounds like this pack of rich kids, I know why the gazelle sprints like lightning. My heart was pounding, and my legs were churning as fast as I could make them go. The newspaper bags slapped at my knees, but I couldn't run forever. I had to ditch them before they got me. I skidded around the corner past a weathered picket fence that was drowning in a jungle of flowers and bushes. I hit the brakes, shoved the bike through the gate, jammed it into the bushes, and dove out of sight as the gate slammed shut behind me. Pedaling to save your life makes you breathe like a blowing cow. Well, I couldn't afford to make that much noise if I was going to survive the next 5 minutes. I did everything I could to be quiet. I even put my hand over my mouth, but that made it even harder to breathe, and I just got boogers all over my fingers. So I gave up that whole line of thinking and just tried to make big, deep breaths, all while I lay on my stomach, peeking from under the thorn bushes. Before I had time to catch my breath, they pelted around the corner, hooting and hollering. All I could see was the blur of the wheels. In an instant, they had passed, and the sounds of the chase began to fade into the wet, summer heat like a mirage gone bad. I sighed in relief. Maybe I would survive another day. I reached a hand up to feel the lump on my head where the rock had hit me. It stung like 1,000 wasps that attacked me, and it dribbled blood into my eyes. I had a couple of good raspberries that were oozing blood on my elbows, and my jeans were torn at the knees. All this came from my not-so-graceful landing. I wasn't in any hurry to go back out there with that bloodthirsty horde roaming around. If I had had a cell phone, I might have called Aunt Elsie to come pick me up when she got off work. But I didn't. So I decided that I would just lie low for a bit when the strangest voice I'd ever heard whispered hot and moist right in my ear. "Danny, how many times have I told you to close that gate quietly?" I swear I jumped clean out of my skin. I landed in a bush so covered in thorns that every square inch of my body surrendered a drop of blood, even the places where no thorn was ever meant to go. And these weren't your average thorns. They were big and thick, the size of a dog's claw, that grabbed at your skin and tore your clothes. Bushes like that should not be allowed to exist. I screamed the only way a 13-year-old could scream when his voice was changing. Something like the combination of a girl shrieking, a hawk screeching, and a pig squealing. It wasn't just one scream. I kept screaming because icy fingers closed around my wrist like a vice, and the face from a nightmare stared down at me. Feathery silver hair fell around sagging jowls. One silver and one yellow eye bulged from underneath drooping eyelids. Then the creature blinked, and one of the eyelids flipped up, revealing the red flesh around her white eyeball, before it fell back into its normal sag. A grayish ooze dribbled from that eye and crusted yellow in the wrinkles underneath. So I screamed, and screamed, and screamed. I'll admit it, I have a sissy streak deep down somewhere that has a very bad habit of cropping up when I least need it. But dang, she was ugly. My heart raced like a supersonic jet, and I broke out in a sweat. I was sure I had been dropped right into an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Then she spoke again, and the sound ran up my spine like fingernails on the chalkboard. I'm going to paddle you good this time for sure.